Hello there, it's Cassie and welcome back to another scrapbookpal.com video. I have a Valentine's Day home decor project that I just could not wait to share with y'all, so let's get started. I'm going to show you some of the products that I plan to use today. I have all these little Lawn Fawn mini stamp sets that I'm going to be coloring up. Those are the Llama Tell You, Octopi My Heart, RAWR, I Love You, Calyptus, and Stinkin Cute. I'm going to use the Memento Tuxedo black ink and a handful of Copics, and I will have those listed up on the screen as I use them. Alright, so I have cut down some cardstock. This is some Nina Classic Crest Solar White cardstock that I have put into my Misty. And I'm going to start by putting in the Octopi My Heart stamp. And I'm going to ink that up with my Memento Tuxedo black ink. And then I'll stamp that down. And I actually end up stamping every image twice. This next one was the RAWR. Because I wasn't sure how many I wanted to actually use at this point, but I definitely thought, well, we have the paper in there. Let's just go ahead and stamp them. That next one was Stinkin Cute. Then we had Llama Tell You. Now we have I Love You, Calyptus. All right, so let's get started with our coloring. As I said, I'll put all the Copics up on the screen. And this is fairly simple coloring, just a little bit of color blending. Most only have about 2 color blends. Some have 3. For my skunk, I do have a couple of or a 3 color blend. I'm going to start off with the C5 for his base coat color. I always put down a base color. That's how I color best, because that way it kind of moistens the paper just a little bit, and then it makes the blending just that much easier. I'm going to come in with C7, just putting some shadowing where I think it would go. And you know, I was looking at this image, and I think I had mentioned it one other time when I've used this image, that you know, it's definitely a skunk, but I feel like you could make this like a fox, or you could probably even make this a squirrel, which might be a stretch, but he would be cute as a lot of little different kinds of critters. I mean, you'd really be, with the sentiments in this set, they're separate, so you could just put "you're cute" instead of using the Stinkin in the middle, but he definitely is quite a cutie when it comes to just being a skunk himself. I have moved on to C10. That is a very dark color, but because we're trying to color a black fox, it just made sense. And so I used that very sparingly and then blended all that out. For my little RAWR dinosaur, I'm going to use G03. And this one I just use a 2 color blend because he just didn't need a lot. There's a lot of surface area with him, but so my next color is G07. And I'll color all of his little spines and then come in with just a little bit of shadowing where I think it might be. And then I'm actually going to do a stippling technique. I do this for a couple of the other images as well, but I thought that would be so cute just to add a little bit of extra texture, not just some shading and shadowing, but add a little bit of texture. And all you're going to want to do with that is hold your Copic like straight up and down and then just dot it down. If you hold it at an angle, you have a tendency to potentially get a line instead of an actual dot, so that's why I suggest when you're doing the stippling that you hold your Copic straight up and down. Alright, for my little octopus, we started off with V15, and then we're going to do the stippling technique once again with V17. And I do like this color combination. I think I used this in one of my other videos for Scrapbook Pal, and I definitely told you I'd be coming back to it because I do like it quite a bit. And I thought he'd be so cute on this little, or it'd be very cute on this cute little octopus. Alright, then for my little llama, I have E50. I did that just for his face. And then I'm going to come in with some E41 and E43. And so we'll put a base coat down for him as well. But once again, because he's got like that fluffy fur, I figured it would be a lot of fun to do the stippling for him as well, just to add that, you know, texture. So in some areas I do the flicking motion that I typically do, but in other areas I start to do the stippling, which is just so fun with these little images. And then I'll come back in with the E41 to blend that out just a little bit more. And then go back in with the E43 and do a little bit more stippling. Then I'll move on to my koala. We're using W1, W3, and W5. So he's another one that had a 3 color blend. Just because he has a lot of surface area, I thought he would be fun. And because it's, you know, the gray tones and these are the warm gray tones. I thought it would be nice to have even that much more shading and shadowing. If you notice, and I think I've said this before as well, when I'm coloring rounded images, I don't go all the way to the edge. That gives your eye the illusion that it is a rounded image. And then I'll come back in and blend that out a little bit more with my W3, and blend that out even more with my W1. For his ears, I come in with RV11, and I just did it at the bottom, and then I'll bring in my colorless blender to blend that out. For the flower and a couple other little areas, we're going to use the combination of RV63, and then we're going to come in with RV55 for my darker shade. Because this is a Valentine's Day decor project, I kind of stayed away from the reds because the colors that I chose for my cardstock was mostly pink. So I've got RV25 and RV66, which actually ends up being a very nice color combination. They don't look like they would go together, but they do. They go pretty nicely. And then I colored up his little eucalyptus, and now I'm going to stamp the heart just using some picked raspberry Distress Oxide ink. Now we'll start doing some of our die cutting. I have a piece of 5.5 inch by 8.5 inch cardstock, and you can get one box out of this, and also cutting out some of the extras, and you'll have some leftover cardstock if you need it for other things. But I used a light pink and a dark pink, and I went back and forth, and I actually cut out 7 of each color, and also 4 of the little rectangle pieces, and then just 1 heart from each of those so that I could get those swapped. Now I measured the inside of the box because I do want to put a sentiment in there for the ones that I end up putting my little images on, and I cut those down to 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches because the inside of the box itself measures like just a little bit bigger than that. So this little 1.5 inch square will fit perfectly on the inside of that box. And so I have 5 of those, and so I'll show you one of them that I stamp. I'm going to stamp the Stinkin in the middle because I want that to be centered. And I stamped that with the Distress Oxide ink in the color Picked Raspberry. And then I'm going to stamp the other sentiments using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And so I stamped Cute underneath, and then I stamp Your on top. So it says You're Stinkin' Cute. And I'll show you how I assemble the box. And this box makes it so easy. It has all of the embossing lines on it as well. So I'm just going to use a bone folder to reinforce all of those folds. And yeah, so it's so easy, and this little box is so cute, and the fact that, you know, it doesn't take much cardstock. You could get 2 out of one 8.5 by 11 inch piece of cardstock. You might even be able to get more than that. I just hadn't tried to figure that out. I think it was just the 2 out of 1, but this is how it would kind of fit together. I use some scrappy tape on the edges, but that's going to go on the inside, so it'll fit in there just perfectly, as you can see. So I'll use some Tombow Mono Multi on the back of my stamped piece, stick that down on the inside, and then I am going to put some of my scrappy tape, and this is just the 1/8 inch scrappy tape right there on the pieces that are folded, and then I'll peel off all of that release paper, and I'll start to assemble the box. These take no time. Like I said, I did 14, just kind of listening to some music and cutting those out, and it really, actually the most time consuming part was probably the die cutting. But that even wasn't that big of a deal. So as I said, I'll peel off all my release paper and start piecing everything together, and I'll show you how this so easily comes together. And if you use a decent tape like scrappy tape, you won't have any issue with it falling apart when you go to pull the little hearts separate. So that's how it's going to look. You're Stinkin' Cute. They'll open the box and they'll see that in there. So the reason I made 14 of these boxes is because I wanted to make a countdown to Valentine's Day, and that way you'd open up a box for every day up to Valentine's Day, and you could have a little something inside. So I plan to put little chocolates inside. Some of these have little notes, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to take the light pink embellishment pieces like the little heart, and I'm going to glue those on. I will say it's much easier if you glue all these pieces on before you assemble everything. So this little first one was my trial and error, although there was no error because it's just hard to have error with such an easy little box. And this box, once again, I don't know if I mentioned, is the Heart Treat Box by Fawn. It's so cute, and there's other little elements in there like little hearts, some outline hearts. There's even a little arrow, so you could really decorate the outside of these boxes. And so I put 4 of those little rectangle panels, they're stitched panels, all around the outside of my box, just for a little extra, you know, decoration on these boxes, but you wouldn't have to do that if you didn't want to. And then I'll close that up, and then you can kind of take a look at how that will go together. And this is pretty sturdy, so you don't have to worry so much about, you know, oh, if I pull up, it's going to come apart. But no, if you use that scrappy tape, you're fine. I'll use all the matching dies that go along with my little Fawn characters, and I'll run that through my die cutting machine. And here I have my skunk. The tape I am using is the Scrapbook Adhesives Crafty foam tape. You could use foam dots as well, but this is what I had handy. And this would be great for cards, you know, if you wanted to add layers to cards and whatnot. So I'll just trim off a piece. I like the big foam roll like this simply because you can manipulate the size that you want, which is nice. So I'm adding a little bit extra, and then I'll snip off that tiny little extra piece. I'm only adding foam tape to the one side. If you put it on both, you're going to close your box and you won't be able to open it. So I'm putting it on the one side, and then I'll adhere my skunk that way. So he will only be attached to that half of the heart, and then it can easily be closed. Sorry, you can't see that on screen, but it can easily be closed just the way it was opened. And then I'll add a little tiny foam dot to the back of my flower, and I'll attach that to the front of my skunk like he's holding a little flower for you. And then I do that with all of the rest of the images. I basically just add those to the front of the tops of boxes. So as I said, I have, and this is what the insides of each one will look like. I love eucalyptus. RAWR means I love you in dinosaur. Llama, tell you how much I like you. And then you octopi my heart. So those will go on the inside of each of those little boxes. And let me show you the easier way to put these boxes together would be to just go ahead and adhere everything with your tape like you wanted. Flip that over, add your scrappy tape, and then you can start peeling off that backing paper. I even try to add the octopus ahead of time, but that actually really doesn't make a difference. It's not like it's easier one way or the other. So I do add a little bit of that foam adhesive, foam tape to the back of my octopus, and then I try to adhere that to my heart. Then I just decide to wait to adhere him until after my box is put together. But I will say that putting all the other elements definitely makes it a whole lot easier. And so I did that with the rest of the boxes that I have had to put together. So you octopi my heart. How cute is that? With a little chocolate or something in there. How fun would that be? Or like a little conversation hearts or whatnot. And then I'll attach his heart like he's holding it in one of his little tentacles, just with a little bit of the glue. And he'll be ready to go. And all of those were so fun to assemble. I'll show you the rest of them later. Now, I did want to do some interest on my background. You could completely skip this part because it did take quite a bit of time. I used the Candy Hearts die, and I cut out, and I'm not joking, 110 hearts from the Candy Hearts. I only use the ones with sayings. I do use the other one, the one that doesn't have a saying on it, later on for the rest of my outsides of my boxes, but I'll show you that later as well. So I have a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock because this is all going to go inside of a 12 by 12 frame, and I am trying to just find the center. So by using my T-ruler, I'm able to just make a light pencil line down the center, going horizontally, and then I'll also do it vertically. And I do this because I thought about just going ahead and starting, but I thought that's one way to definitely screw this up. Because I definitely have a hard time putting things on straight, so this for me was the best way to do it. So by going down the center, I've got this like perfect center spot, and I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Multi to adhere all of my hearts all across that background. I wanted this to be super subtle. You could do it with other colors, but I wanted it to be super subtle so that the rest of my boxes stood out. But I'm going to go through, and right now this is just sped up twice, but I'm going to speed this up about 8 times. It took me probably about 40 minutes or so to put this all over the background. And I just go down the line, adding those, like butted them up right against each other. And it was, I don't know, I thought it really, really added to the piece. So I was really happy that I did it. I don't regret it at all. I am very, very happy with it. And I added all those pieces, and you'll see that I've got some that hang off the top and bottom. I end up cutting those parts off, and I will use those extra pieces on the areas where, you know, you might have a little bit of space. So I'm just going to keep going along and adding those pieces, and you know, they're diagonal, and they've this background. I'm just so happy with it. I really want to make another one of these art pieces because I feel like it's so cute. It would be a really cute gift to give to somebody. So here I am cutting off all those extra pieces, and then I will add those to the spots where they might need them. All right. So now I did cut out more of those hearts, and the reason I did that is because I needed numbers. Those numbers come from the Finley's 123's Lawn Fawn die, and I didn't need numbers for all of them because I do have some boxes that have the little characters on them, so I don't need the numbers for those. But I'm just adding that with some of my Ranger Multimedia Matte adhesive, so that will come out matte dry if it comes out of the sides. And so then I will take a little bit of foam tape, and I'm only going to adhere that to the one side, because again, if you put it on both sides, you'll close that box completely. And I'll match those up with the pieces that they would go with. And then we're going to start assembling all of this. This is going to start going on. So I'm going to do my layout, and I'm going to make it look like a heart. So how fun is that? And we're going to use some little Velcro. They call these Velcro coins. I'm going to adhere these down with Velcro so that they're easy to pull off, so that whoever, you know, is using their little countdown to Valentine's, they can peel that off, pull out their little chocolate or whatever might be inside, a little note. You could write tiny little notes to whoever you want to give this to, and then you'll have little Velcro pieces. And look at that, it stays on there, but you can pull those off super, super easy. I have a 12 by 12 shadow box frame, and I'm not putting the glass in, and then I'll just assemble that like so. And then there it is. Oh, it's so fun. I love how this turned out. So I'm going to have all the items that I used listed down below, along with links to the blog, so you can check that out. There'll be a step-by-step process if you need something like that. But isn't that fun and cute? And it really didn't take that much time, honestly. I want to make more of these, and once you have those dies, it's easy to do. So if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by.